The message came from the stars every single day. It had been coming for 300 years. Always the same, always patient. The Galactic Assembly sent their invitation across space to every species that learned to use radio waves and build rockets. Most species answered quickly. Some took months. A few took years. But humanity had stayed silent for 3 centuries. Ambassador Vekthar sat in his office on the assembly station, looking at the Earth file again. He had been studying humanity for 50 years now. And they confused him more with each passing day. The blue planet should have answered by now. They had everything they needed. They split atoms 200 years ago. They sent signals into space even before that. They should have heard the call. Maybe they are just slow to develop, said Sora, his young assistant. She had never seen a first contact before. Maybe they are afraid of us. Vekthar moved his sense stalks in disagreement. The data told him something very different. Humans had spread across their solar system like water flowing downhill. They built cities on 3 different planets. They had stations around dozens of moons. Their ships used fusion power now, crude but working. And most concerning of all, their military communications filled the radio spectrum with encrypted signals. They heard the invitation. They just chose not to answer. Far below on Earth, deep under the Rocky Mountains, Fleet Admiral Jake Morrison stood in a conference room. The people around the table represented every major nation that had joined together after they learned the truth. They were not alone in the universe. And that scared them enough to finally work together. The alien transmissions keep coming, Morrison said. His face was hard and weathered from years of military service. Same message every day. They want us to come to their meeting place. President Lisa Campbell leaned forward in her chair. She led the North American Union, one of the largest powers in the unified Earth government. What do you think, Admiral? It's a trap, Morrison said without hesitation. Or at least a test. No species broadcasts where they are, and invites strangers unless they have massive power or massive weapons. Maybe both. We go through their gateway on their terms. We're either dead or slaves. Admiral Claire Bennett nodded. She commanded the Pacific Coalition's space forces. Our scientists ran the numbers. Any species that can send messages faster than light is probably 100 years ahead of us in technology. At least, we make contact now. We do it from a position of weakness. So we wait, said Minister Ben Kowalski from the European states. We build our strength. We prepare. We build everything, Morrison corrected him. Every weapon we ever dreamed of. Every ship design on the drawing boards. Every soldier trained until they can fight in their sleep. When humanity finally answers that call, we don't show up begging. We show up as equals. Or we show up ready for war, President Campbell added quietly. Everyone in the room voted yes. 50 Earth years went by. 50 years of humans working together like never before. They shared one fear that united them all. Something was out there, watching them, judging them, and maybe planning to attack. The invitation kept broadcasting. Patient and never changing. The Galactic Assembly started to worry. The human silence is now very unusual, Vekthar told the Council of First Contact. He was older now, his shell color fading, but his mind stayed sharp. We have watched them advance faster than any species we ever recorded. They build weapons across their entire star system. They are not primitive. They are not afraid. They are getting ready. Council Speaker Nimora processed this information. Her crystal body flashed amber colors that meant danger. Getting ready for what? We only offered peace. Getting ready for us, Vekthar answered. They think first contact means invasion. A paranoid species, War Master Krell laughed, his scales turned red with aggression. They only understand fighting. Maybe we should give them what they expect. Or maybe, said Science Director Tara, speaking directly into their minds with her telepathy. We made a mistake. We forgot what silence means to a species that evolved as hunters. Humans do not hide from prey. They stalk it. The council room went very quiet. On the human colony called New Horizon, orbiting the giant planet Jupiter, Commander Ryan Torres walked through the shipyard. 50 massive warships hung in space at different stages of construction. Each one represented years of work and scientific breakthroughs. "The Valkyrie carriers are ready for testing," said Chief Engineer Sophie Grant. She held a tablet showing designs that would have been impossible 2 generations before. Fusion drives, magnetic shields, particle weapons. "We solved every problem in the book. And created some new problems to solve too," Torres agreed. He stopped in front of the flagship. The Earth Defense Force Sentinel, 3 kilometers of armored death, carrying enough weapons to destroy a small moon. Humanity built 40 ships like this one, and 200 smaller destroyers and frigates. "Do you think they know?" Sophie asked softly. "The aliens. Do they know what we built?" Torres looked at the distant stars. "I hope so. I hope they're watching and thinking twice about whatever they planned for us." Neither of them knew that the Galactic Assembly was watching, and what they saw made them afraid. Back on the assembly station, Vekthar prepared his final report. He had spent his entire career studying first contact situations. He knew the signs of a developing species. He knew when to offer help and when to give space. But humanity broke every pattern he ever learned. "They are ready," he told his assistant Sora. "After 300 years of silence, humanity is finally ready to meet us." "Will they accept our invitation now?" Sora asked hopefully. Vekthar looked at the images from his spy satellites around Earth's solar system. Warships by the hundreds, weapons that could crack planets. Soldiers training in zero-gravity combat, factories building more weapons every day. The years kept passing, and Earth kept building. The alien invitation continued its endless broadcast across space. But humanity had other priorities. They built ships, they built weapons, they built a military force that would make any enemy think twice. Admiral Jake Morrison was 70 years old now, but he still commanded Earth's defense forces. He stood in the war room deep under the mountains, watching displays that showed every human ship in the solar system. There were thousands of them now. Some carried weapons. Some carried supplies. All of them were ready. "The Mars shipyards completed another 10 destroyers this month," reported Captain Dan Rodriguez. He was young and eager, part of a generation that grew up knowing aliens existed. "The lunar factories are ahead of schedule on particle beam production." Morrison nodded. "What about the new drive system? The one that might let us jump farther than the aliens expect?" "Dr. Helen Price says they're close," Rodriguez answered. "Maybe 6 months to testing. If it works, our ships could travel twice as fast as current models." "Good," Morrison said. "Speed means surprise. Surprise means advantage." Rodriguez hesitated. "Sir, do you really think we'll need all this? Maybe the aliens really do want peace." Morrison turned to look at the younger man. "Maybe they do, but maybe is not good enough when it comes to species survival. We prepare for the worst and hope for the best. That's how humanity survives." Across the solar system, millions of humans work toward the same goal. In factories on Luna, workers built weapons that could tear through starship armor. On Mars, engineers designed better shields and faster engines. On Europa, scientists developed new forms of fusion power that burned hotter and longer. But the real work happened in secret facilities that few people knew existed. Dr. Helen Price worked in one such facility, hidden in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Her team of 200 scientists worked on the most dangerous project humanity ever attempted. They called it Project Gateway. "The theory is sound," Helen explained to the military observers who visited every month. "The aliens use some kind of wormhole technology to travel faster than light. We captured enough data from their broadcasts to understand the basics." Colonel Frank Hayes leaned forward. He represented the Defense Council, the group that approved all major military projects. "Can we build our own?" "We think so," Helen said. But there's a risk. If we activate a gateway near Earth without knowing exactly what we're doing, we could tear a hole in space that swallows the whole planet. So, we test it far away, Hayes said. We test it very far away, Helen agreed. Beyond Pluto, where if something goes wrong, Earth stays safe. The conversation moved to technical details. But the message was clear. Humanity would not just prepare to defend themselves. They would take the fight to any enemy, if needed. They would have the same technology the aliens used, and they would use it better. On the assembly station, Vekthar watched all of this happen with growing concern. The assembly's spy satellites around Earth's system sent back constant reports. Each one showed humanity growing stronger and more dangerous. They achieved fusion power in spacecraft. He told the council. Full fusion, not the weak reactors they used before. Their warships can travel for years without refueling. Concerning, but not threatening, said Council Speaker Nimora. Her crystal body pulsed with calm blue colors. Many species achieve this before first contact. They also developed weapons we have never seen. Vekthar continued. Magnetic accelerators that fire projectiles at a fraction of light speed. Particle beams that can cut through 3 meters of composite armor. And now our sensors detect tests of something that might be gateway technology. That made the council pay attention. Gateway technology was considered advanced even by assembly standards. Most species needed help to develop it safely. Humanity was doing it alone. SS. How is this possible? Demanded War Master Krell. They should be decades away from understanding gateway physics. Humans learn fast when they are scared, Vekthar said. And they are very scared of us. Science Director Terra's telepathic voice filled the chamber. We created this situation. We sent our invitation and expected them to trust us. Instead, we made them see us as a threat. They responded the only way they knew how. They built an army. Should we stop sending the invitation? Sora asked. She served as Vekthar's assistant for 20 years now. And she finally understood humanity better. Maybe if we go silent, they will relax. No, Vekthar said firmly. If we stop now, they will think we are preparing to attack. The silence will confirm their fears. We must continue the invitation and hope they eventually trust us. And if they don't? War Master Krell asked. No one had a good answer. Back on Earth, the Defense Council met to discuss the same question from the opposite direction. We've been silent for 300 years, President Lisa Campbell said. She looked older now, serving her third term, leading the North American Union. How much longer do we wait? Until we're ready, Admiral Morrison answered. We're close, but not there yet. Project Gateway needs more testing. The Sentinel-class battleships need their final weapons installed. We need at least 5 more years. 5 years, Minister Ben Kowalski repeated. He led the European states now, after the previous minister retired. The people are getting impatient. They see the ships we built. They want to know why we don't use them. Because one chance is all we get, Morrison said. We reveal ourselves once. We make first contact once. If we do it wrong, if we show up weak or unprepared, we might not get another chance. We wait until we're absolutely ready, Admiral Claire Bennett agreed. Our scout ships detected 3 other species in nearby space. All of them seem friendly with the assembly. All of them have weapons. But nothing compared to what we built. When we show up, we need to be the most powerful military force any of them ever saw. President Campbell looked around the table. Vote time. Do we continue building and waiting, or do we make contact now? The vote was unanimous. Build and wait. Commander Ryan Torres stood on the observation deck of New Horizons Station, watching construction crews install weapons on a new destroyer. His friend, Sophie Grant, joined him, carrying coffee for both of them. Beautiful, isn't it? Sophie said, looking at the warship taking shape. In a terrible kind of way. It's necessary, Ryan said. Every weapon we build, every ship we launch, it's all to protect Earth, to protect humanity. Do you think the aliens know that? Sophie asked. Do they understand we're not building this to attack them? Ryan sipped his coffee. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. But here's what I do know. When we finally meet them, they'll see our ships and our weapons, and they'll know one thing for certain. What's that? That humanity is not prey, Ryan said. We're not victims. We're not going to roll over and accept whatever they decide for us. We'll meet them as equals, or we'll fight them as enemies. Their choice. Sophie nodded slowly. You think it will come to fighting? The attack came without warning on a cold Tuesday morning, Earth time. The Galileo station floated in deep space between human territory and the rest of the galaxy. 23 scientists lived there, studying the stars and listening for signals. They were researchers, not soldiers. They had weapons, but only enough to scare off pirates. The Vrex came with 12 warships. Dr. Helen Price was working late in her laboratory when the first distress signal came through. She had transferred from the asteroid belt facility to Galileo Station 3 months ago, bringing her gateway research with her. The station had better equipment, and she was close to a breakthrough. All stations, this is Galileo, the emergency broadcast said. The voice belonged to Lieutenant Kyle Chen, the station's security chief. We are under attack. Multiple hostile vessels. They're not responding to hails. They're just shooting. Helen ran to the command center. Through the windows, she could see the enemy ships. They were ugly things, covered in mismatched armor and weapons bolted onto the hull wherever they fit. But ugly did not mean harmless. Their guns tore into Galileo's shields with brutal efficiency. Return fire, Kyle ordered. The station's defense turrets came online, firing back at the attackers. They hit 2 enemy ships, but it was not enough. There were too many. Send a message to Earth, Helen said. Tell them what's happening. Kyle nodded to the communications officer, a young woman named Carol Green. She worked frantically at her console, trying to get a signal through the enemy jamming. Got it, Carol said. Message away. It'll reach Earth in 8 hours. We don't have 8 hours, Kyle said quietly. He was right. The station's shields were failing fast. Hull breaches opened in 3 sections. The enemy ships moved closer, preparing to board. Fall back to the core sections, Kyle ordered. Seal the outer rings. If they want this station, they'll have to fight for every meter. The scientists grabbed weapons and followed the security team deeper into the station. Helen carried her research data, everything she learned about gateway technology. She would not let the enemy have it. The Vrex boarded through the cargo bay. They were big creatures, covered in thick scales, and carrying weapons that looked homemade but deadly. They killed anyone who resisted, and took prisoners who surrendered. But they made a mistake. They thought the humans would give up easy. Kyle and his team fought back hard. They used every trick they learned in training. They ambushed the Vrex in narrow corridors. They sabotaged systems to slow them down. They made the aliens pay for every step forward. This is Lieutenant Kyle Chen, he said into the station's emergency recorder. If anyone finds this, know that we did not surrender. We fought. Tell Earth that we bought them time. Make it count. The recording cut off when the Vrex broke into the command center. 8 hours later, the message reached Earth. Admiral Morrison listened to the recording 3 times. The screams, the sound of explosions, the defiant final words. He played it for the Defense Council. 23 dead, President Amy Foster said. She took over from Campbell 2 years ago, and this was her first real crisis. Killed for studying stars. The Vrex did this, said Intelligence Director Nick Palmer. He pulled up data on the screens around the room. We intercepted their communications. They're bragging about it. They think humans are easy prey. Where are they now? Morrison asked. Still in that sector, Nick answered. 12 ships, looting the station wreckage. Light cruisers. Nothing special. Admiral Claire Bennett studied the tactical display. We have 4 destroyers in range. The Retribution, the Vengeance, the Justice, and the Fury. We can be there in 6 hours. This breaks our policy, warned Secretary of Defense Megan Torres. We show ourselves, we reveal our strength. Once we do this, the whole galaxy knows about us. They killed our people, Morrison said. His voice was cold and hard. That's all the policy I need. We vote now. The vote took 30 seconds. All in favor of retaliation. 6 hours later, 4 human destroyers dropped out of hyperspace near the remains of Galileo Station. Captain Dan Rodriguez commanded the lead ship, the Earth Defense Force Retribution. He was 40 years old now, a career officer who trained his whole life for this moment. All ships, battle formation, he ordered. The enemy is directly ahead. They're still at the station. Weapons hot, reported his tactical officer, Lieutenant Gary Brooks. Particle beams charged, missiles loaded, magnetic accelerators ready. They're turning toward us, said the sensor operator. They're powering up weapons. Did they send any messages? Dan asked. Yes, sir. They're demanding we leave or they'll destroy us. Dan smiled without humor. Send them a message back. Tell them no. Sir, just no. One word. Then we fire. The Vrex fleet moved to attack formation. They clearly expected the 4 human ships to run. 4 against 12 was bad odds by anyone's math. But they did not understand human math. All batteries, Dan said calmly. Fire at will. The Retribution opened fire first. Her particle beams lanced out, cutting through the lead Vrex cruiser's shields like they were paper. The ship exploded in a ball of fire. Before the wreckage stopped spinning, the Retribution's magnetic accelerators fired, sending tungsten rods through a second Vrex ship at incredible speed. The other 3 human destroyers engaged. The Vengeance targeted the Vrex command ship, her missiles hitting so hard the enemy vessel broke in half. The Justice and the Fury worked together, coordinating their fire to take down multiple enemies at once. The Vrex tried to fight back. Their weapons hit human shields, but the shields held. Human ships were built to take damage and keep fighting. The Vrex ships were built cheap and fast, and it showed. 6 enemy vessels destroyed, Gary reported. The rest are trying to run. Do not let them escape, Dan ordered. Hunt them down. Every single one. The battle turned into a chase. The human destroyers were faster and better armed. One by one, they caught the fleeing Vrex ships and destroyed them. The last enemy vessel died 12 minutes after the battle started. All targets eliminated, Gary said. No survivors detected. Dan looked at the wreckage floating in space. 12 Vrex ships, all gone. His own ship had minor damage to the forward shields. Nothing serious. Good, he said. Now scan for any other Vrex ships in this sector. We're going hunting. Over the next 3 days, the 4 human destroyers found and destroyed every Vrex vessel within 10 light years. They did not send warnings. They did not take prisoners. They simply killed. On the assembly station, Vecthar received the reports with growing horror. The humans emerged from their silence. He told the emergency council meeting. They destroyed an entire Vrex raiding fleet. 12 ships. Complete annihilation. The Yen said, then they hunted down every Vrex vessel in the region. 27 ships total. They showed no mercy. How many human vessels? War Master Krell demanded. 4. The council chamber exploded with shocked noise. Different species made different sounds, but they all meant the same thing. Disbelief. Impossible, Krell said. The Vrex are primitive, yes, but they have numbers. 4 ships cannot defeat 12, let alone 27. The humans had superior technology, Vecthar said. He showed them the battle footage recovered from a Vrex escape pod. The council watched in silence as human weapons tore through Vrex shields and armor like they were nothing. We spent 300 years assuming they were behind us, Vecthar continued. We were wrong. In warfare, they are ahead of anyone in this assembly. Maybe ahead of everyone in the galaxy. Science Director Tara's telepathic voice washed over them all. They spent 300 years preparing. We offered them peace, and they built weapons. Now, they have shown us why. We must make contact, Nemora declared. Before this gets worse. It may already be too late, Vecthar said. The humans are no longer silent, and they have shown the galaxy what they can do. Back on Earth, Morrison watched the same battle footage. He felt prid 3 weeks after the Vrex fleet died. Humanity made its formal entrance to the galactic stage. They did not come quietly. The Earth Defense Force Sentinel dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the assembly space. The massive battleship measured 3 kilometers from bow to stern, covered in weapons and armor. Around her, 20 escort vessels formed a perfect military formation. Every ship had its weapons powered up, but not locked on targets. The message was clear, without words. We come in peace, but we are ready for anything. On the bridge of the Sentinel, Admiral Jake Morrison stood watching the assembly station grow larger on the screens. At 75 years old, he should have retired years ago. But this moment was too important. He needed to see humanity's first contact with his own eyes. They're hailing us, reported the communications officer, Lieutenant Gary Brooks. Multiple frequencies. They really want to talk. Let them wait a minute, Morrison said. I want them to see us first. Let them count our ships and our weapons. Let them understand who they're dealing with. The fleet moved forward slowly, giving the assembly plenty of time to scan them. Morrison knew they would be shocked by what they found. Human technology had advanced beyond what anyone expected. Now, Morrison said, open a channel and launch our shuttle. Ambassador Kate Sullivan sat in the shuttle, watching space pass by outside. She wore a formal diplomatic uniform, dark blue with Earth's symbol on the shoulder. 2 security officers sat with her, both wearing powered armor. Even the shuttle was a statement. It carried enough weapons to destroy a small ship. Kate was 50 years old, a former military officer who became a diplomat. She spoke 4 languages and studied alien psychology for 20 years. The Defense Council chose her for one reason. She could negotiate peace, but she understood war. The shuttle docked with the assembly station. The airlock opened. Kate stepped through with her security team, following close behind. Vecthar waited in the greeting hall. His sense stalks moved in what humans would learn meant nervous welcome. Behind him stood representatives from 20 different species, all curious about the mysterious humans. Ambassador Sullivan, Vecthar said, using the translation device that made all languages understandable. After 300 cycles, humanity finally answers the call. Kate looked at him without smiling. We received your invitation. We considered it carefully. We decided to decline. No. You could have heard a pin drop in the silent hall. Then why? Asked Nemora, her crystal body flashing confused colors. Why are you here? Because the galaxy is not as peaceful as your message suggested, Kate answered. The Vrex attacked our people, killed 23 scientists who were only studying stars. That is not acceptable. We came to make sure it never happens again. The Vrex are an unusual case, Vecthar explained quickly. The assembly maintains peace through dialogue and understanding. And when dialogue fails? Kate asked. When understanding is not enough. Who protects the innocent? No one answered her question. That is what we thought, Kate said. She pulled out a data pad. Here are humanity's terms for joining the Galactic Assembly. We want equal voting rights despite being new members. We keep our military fleet. We have the right to defend any assembly member under attack, whether they ask for help or not. And the assembly will create an actual defense force, with you providing the framework, Vecthar guessed. With us providing the initial framework, yes, Kate confirmed. You have grown comfortable behind your philosophy of peace. Someone needs to remind the galaxy that peace requires strength to maintain it. War Master Krell stepped forward, his scales turned aggressive red. You come here making demands? You are one species among hundreds. What gives you the right? Our fleet outside gives us the right, Kate said calmly. Our technology gives us the right. Our willingness to fight for what is right gives us the right. If you disagree, we can leave. We will defend ourselves without you. The council chamber erupted in argument. Some species welcomed humanity and their military strength. Others feared them. The debate raged for days. Then the Vrex came for revenge. A fleet of 40 Vrex warships dropped out of hyperspace directly on top of the assembly station. Their leader sent one message before attacking. The humans killed our brothers. Now we kill everyone who welcomes them. Alarms blared throughout the station. Ships tried to evacuate, but the Vrex had planned their attack well. They blocked the main escape routes and started firing on the station itself. On the Sentinel, Morrison watched the enemy fleet appear on his sensors. All ships, battle stations, he ordered. Engage the enemy, protect the station. The Sentinel and her escorts moved to intercept. But 40 against 21 was bad odds. Even for human ships. Sir, we are outnumbered, Gary reported. I noticed, Morrison said dryly. Do your best. Help is coming. The human fleet crashed into the Vrex like a hammer. The Sentinel's main weapons fired, each shot destroying or crippling an enemy vessel. The escort destroyers worked in teams, covering each other and coordinating their fire. But the Vrex kept coming. They were desperate and angry and willing to die. 3 of them focused fire on one human destroyer, overwhelming its shields. The ship took heavy damage. Where is that help? Gary asked urgently. Coming now, Morrison said. 60 more human warships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. Morrison had positioned them nearby, just in case something went wrong. The cavalry had arrived. Admiral Claire Bennett commanded the reinforcement fleet from her flagship, the Defender. She was 70 years old now, but her tactical mind was still sharp. All ships, free fire, she ordered. Show them what happens when they threaten Earth's allies. The new human fleet tore into the Vrex like wolves into sheep. Advanced weapons, better shields, superior training. The Vrex never stood a chance. Captain Dan Rodriguez commanded one of the new arrivals, the Retribution still bearing scars from the first battle. He felt grim satisfaction as his weapons destroyed Vrex ship after Vrex ship. For Galileo Station, he said quietly. The battle lasted less than an hour. 40 Vrex warships reduced to burning wreckage. The human fleet had 2 ships with heavy damage, but 0 casualties. In the assembly station, Vecthar and the Council watched everything on their displays. They saw human ships move with precision. They saw human weapons cut through enemy defenses. They saw a level of military coordination that most species could not achieve. Kate Sullivan stood in the observation deck next to Vecthar. The old ambassador's sense stalks drooped with exhaustion and shock. Did you know? He asked. Did humanity know this would happen? We knew the Vrex would want revenge, Kate answered. We prepared for it. That is what we do. We prepare for threats before they arrive. Your species spent 300 years preparing for war, Vecthar said. No, Kate corrected. We spent 300 years preparing to survive. There is a difference. We did not want war, but we would rather be warriors in peace than victims in war. Below them, the human fleet regrouped around the damaged station. Engineering teams were already heading over to help with repairs. Medical teams prepared to treat the wounded from all species. The vote on humanity's terms, Nimora said, her crystal body pulsing with decisive blue light. I call for an immediate vote. The council voted. It was unanimous. Humanity would join the Galactic Assembly with all their requested terms, and they would lead the new combined defense force. Kate stood on the Sentinel's bridge with Morrison, watching the results come in. "We did it," she said. "We are part of the galactic community now." "On our terms," Morrison added. "That is what matters. We did not show up begging. We showed up strong." "Do you think they will resent us?" Kate asked. "For forcing change on them?" "Some will," Morrison said. "But most will be grateful when the next threat comes. And it will come. The galaxy is a dangerous place." Kate nodded. "So we teach them. We share our strength. We help them build their own defense forces. And we keep humanity safe," Morrison said. "That is always the first priority." Outside, the human fleet began to disperse to their new patrol routes. Some would stay near Earth. Others would protect Assembly member worlds. All of them would carry the message humanity learned over 300 years of silence. 5 years passed after humanity joined the Galactic Assembly. 5 years that changed everything. Ambassador Kate Sullivan stood on the observation deck of what was now called Unity Station. She was 55 years old, with more gray hair than before, but her eyes stayed sharp. Behind her, through the large windows, human destroyers patrolled alongside ships from 40 different species. All of them carried the new emblem of the Combined Defense Force. The CDF was humanity's gift to the galaxy. Or maybe it was their insurance policy. Kate was not sure which, and she suspected the truth was somewhere in between. "You look thoughtful," said a familiar voice. Vecthar joined her at the window. His carapace was very faded now, and he moved slower than before. But his mind stayed as keen as ever. "Just remembering," Kate said. 5 years ago, we came here with weapons ready, and no trust at all. Now look at us." Below, a human instructor ship was training a mixed crew of aliens in combat maneuvers. A Pelrathi science vessel worked with human engineers to design better shield systems. A Vargan cruiser, once humanity's potential enemy, now served as part of the defense patrol. "Did you know?" Vecthar asked. "When your species heard our invitation all those years ago, did you know it would lead to this?" Kate smiled slightly. "We knew the galaxy could not be as peaceful as your message suggested. Real peace is not just the absence of fighting. It is having the strength to prevent fighting and the wisdom to use that strength carefully. Your species spent 300 years preparing for war," Vecthar observed. "We spent 300 years preparing to survive," Kate corrected, as she had corrected him before. "There is a difference. We did not want war. We wanted to be ready for anything." She looked at the ships again. Human destroyers were smaller and less fancy than some alien vessels, but they were tougher, faster, and carried more weapons. Other species were learning from human designs. The new generation of CDF ships combined human military thinking with alien technology. They were better than either species could build alone. "Some species still resent humanity's influence," Vecthar said. "They think you forced change on us." "Some do," Kate agreed. "And that is good. Resentment keeps people honest. It makes us prove we are worth following." "And are you?" Vecthar asked. "Worth following?" Kate gestured at the patrol ships. 6 months ago, the Krill swarm attacked the Delphian colonies. 20 years ago, the Delphians would have been slaughtered. The Assembly would have sent strongly worded messages and done nothing. But this time, the CDF responded in 3 hours. Human and Pelrathi ships working together. We saved 2 million Delphian lives. "One battle does not prove everything," Vecthar said. "No," Kate agreed. "But it proves we meant what we said. We are here to protect the Assembly. All of it, not just human interests." Down in the training section of Unity Station, Commander Ryan Torres supervised a group of young officers from 7 different species. He was 45 now, no longer the eager young officer who watched ships being built at New Horizon. He wore the uniform of a CDF instructor, a job he took after his combat tour ended. The key to fleet tactics, he told his students, is coordination. Your weapons and your shields only matter if you use them as a team. Watch this simulation. The display showed a recording from a recent battle. 6 CDF ships against 12 pirates. The CDF vessels moved like they were connected by invisible strings, each one covering the others, coordinating their fire perfectly. The pirates never had a chance. That is the human way, said one student, a young Pelrathi named Vork. But my people do not think like that. We value individual glory. Then, you need to change, Ryan said bluntly. Individual glory gets people killed in modern combat. Working together keeps people alive. That is why we train you here, to break bad habits and teach good ones. Another student, a Vargan warrior named Kresh, bristled at that. You think our ways are bad? I think your ways were designed for one-on-one combat, or small raids, Ryan answered. They work fine for that. But fleet combat is different. You need discipline, coordination, trust in the person next to you. That is hard for my people, Kresh admitted. Good things are usually hard, Ryan said. But you can learn. We have seen dozens of species adapt to CDF methods, some faster than others. But all of them get there eventually. The class continued, with Ryan drilling them on tactical scenarios and coordination exercises. This was humanity's real contribution to the galaxy. Not just weapons and ships, but the knowledge of how to use them effectively. On Earth, in the command center under the Rocky Mountains, a new generation of leaders made decisions. Admiral Alex Wright commanded the Earth Defense Forces now. Morrison retired 2 years ago, finally accepting that he earned his rest. Wright was younger than Morrison, only 50 years old, but he learned from the best. He stood in front of the same displays Morrison once watched, seeing human ships scattered across known space. Status report, he ordered. Captain Dan Rodriguez, now a senior officer, pulled up the information. 70 human vessels on patrol with CDF, another 100 in Earth's home defense fleet. The Mars and Jupiter shipyards are producing 10 new ships per year. We have enough force to handle any current threat. Current threat, Wright repeated. What about future threats? Unknown, Dan admitted. The galaxy is big. We have explored maybe 5% of it. Who knows what else is out there? Exactly, Wright said. So we keep building, we keep training. We never assume we are safe just because things are peaceful now. That was the lesson Morrison taught them all. Eternal vigilance. Never stop preparing. Never assume the threat is gone just because you cannot see it. Back on Unity Station, Kate received a message on her datapad. She read it and smiled. Good news? Vekthar asked. Very good, Kate said. The Assembly just approved funding for 20 new joint-design battleships, human engineering combined with Elysian power systems and Pelrathi sensors. They will be the most advanced ships in the galaxy. Expensive, Vekthar noted. Worth it, Kate countered. Every credit spent on defense is a credit that prevents war. That is something humanity learned the hard way. She turned to face him directly. Your people sent that invitation 300 years ago. You wanted us to join your peaceful assembly. We came, but we brought our strength with us. Do you regret that? Vekthar was quiet for a long moment. His sense stalks moved in complex patterns as he thought. No, he finally said. I do not regret it. The assembly was weak before you came. We talked about peace, but did nothing to protect it. The Vreks raided our worlds for 20 years, and we sent messages of concern. You came and stopped them in 20 days. That is the difference between philosophy and action. But you gave up something, Kate pressed. Your assembly was built on dialogue and understanding. Now it is built on military strength too. That must bother some of your people. It does, Vekthar admitted. Some miss the old ways. But the old ways only worked because no one seriously challenged us. The moment real threats appeared, our philosophy failed. You showed us that we needed both. Peace through strength, and strength through peace. Kate nodded. We have a saying on Earth: walk softly and carry a big stick. Be kind and peaceful, but make sure everyone knows you can defend yourself if needed. Your species understands war very well, Vikthar said. Too well. Kate replied quietly. We fought each other for thousands of years. We nearly destroyed ourselves with nuclear weapons. We know what war costs. That is why we work so hard to prevent it. Not because we are afraid of fighting. Because we know what happens when fighting starts. Down in the engineering section, Sophie Grant worked with a team of alien scientists on a new project. She was 45 years old now, one of the leading experts on human-alien technology integration. The problem, she explained to her team, is that human fusion reactors run hot and fast. Pelrathi power systems run cool and steady. We need to find a middle ground. A Pelrathi engineer named Sekta offered a suggestion. What if we use both? Human reactors for combat power, Pelrathi systems for normal operations. Switch between them as needed. 9. Sophie smiled. That might work. Let me run some calculations. Quote. 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 This was the real success of humanity joining the assembly. Not the military victories or the political power, but the collaboration. Humans learned from aliens. Aliens learned from humans. Together, they created things neither could make alone. 3 years later, the first mixed-crew battleship launched from Unity Station shipyards. She was called the Harmony, a name chosen to represent the cooperation that built her. Her captain was human. Her first officer was Pelrathi. Her crew was a mix of 12 different species. Admiral Wright attended the launch ceremony, along with Kate Sullivan and Vekthar. She is beautiful, Vekthar said. Watching the massive ship move away from the dock. She is powerful, Wright corrected. Beautiful is a bonus. Can I tell you something? Vekthar asked. Something I never told anyone? Kate and Wright both looked at him. When humanity first emerged with your fleet of warships, I was terrified, Vekthar admitted. I thought you would conquer us. I thought we made a terrible mistake by inviting you. And now? Kate asked. Now I think you saved us, Vekthar said. The galaxy is more dangerous than we wanted to admit. The Vreks were only the beginning. We have detected other threats since then. Pirates, rogue states, unknown species that might not be friendly. Without human strength and human knowledge, we would be helpless. You were never helpless, Wright said. You had technology and numbers. You just lacked the will to use them for defense. Perhaps, Vekthar agreed. But you showed us how. You taught us that peace and strength are not opposites. They work together. Kate looked at the Harmony beginning her patrol route. A ship crewed by a dozen species, armed with weapons from human designs, powered by alien technology. A symbol of what the galaxy could become. Humanity never answered your call when you first sent it, she said. We waited 300 years. We built our strength. We prepared for every possibility. And when we finally came, we came ready for war. But you brought peace instead, Vekthar said. No. Kate corrected gently. We brought the ability to protect peace. That is different. Peace is something everyone builds together. But someone needs to guard it while it grows. That is humanity's role now. Wright nodded. For as long as it is needed, we will stand guard. We will train others. We will share our knowledge. And maybe someday, the galaxy will not need us anymore. That day is far away, Vekthar said. Probably, Kate agreed. But that is okay. Humanity is patient. We waited 300 years to answer your invitation. We can wait as long as needed to build real peace. The three of them watched the Harmony disappear into the distance, heading out to patrol the borders of known space. Behind them, Unity Station buzzed with activity. Ships coming and going, species working together. A galaxy learning to defend itself. Humanity had finally answered the call, and the galaxy would never be the same. Peace is precious, but peace without strength is just waiting to be conquered. Humanity would make sure the galaxy never forgot that lesson. Vecthar watched the human ships depart from the observation deck. Sora stood with him, her young face confused. "Are they our protectors now?" she asked. "Or our conquerors?" "Neither," Vecthar said. "They are our partners. They bring something the Assembly lost long ago. The will to fight for peace. The strength to defend it. We invited them to join us. They accepted. But they made sure we needed them as much as they needed us. Is that good?" Sora asked. Vecthar's sense stalks moved in what humans would learn meant thoughtful consideration. "I think so. Time will tell." Mixed with sadness. Pride that his people fought so well. Sadness that it came to this. "The galaxy knows about us now," President Foster said. "What do? We do what we always planned," Morrison answered. "We make contact. But we do it on our terms. We send a delegation, but we send it with a fleet. We show them that we came in peace, but we're ready for war." "Will they accept that?" Foster asked. "They'll have to," Morrison said, "because the alternative is worse for everyone." He looked at the screens showing Earth's fleet. Hundreds of warships, all ready to launch. Humanity had been silent for 300 years. Now, they would speak, and the galaxy would listen, whether it wanted to or not. "I hope not," Ryan said honestly. "But hope is not a strategy. Preparation is. And we're very prepared." Across human space, that same conversation happened thousands of times. In bars on Mars, soldiers talked about what combat with aliens might look like. In schools on Luna, children learned about other species and how to stay safe around them. In government offices on Earth, leaders planned for every possible scenario. Humanity had spent 300 years getting ready. They built the weapons. They trained the soldiers. They developed the technology. Now they just needed the courage to use it all. Admiral Morrison looked at the calendar on his desk. But deep down, he wondered if any amount of preparation would be enough. They were about to meet aliens who crossed the stars. Aliens who built wormholes and sent messages faster than light. Aliens who might have weapons humanity could not imagine. He pushed the doubt away. Doubt was the enemy. Doubt made you weak. Humanity needed to be strong. 5 years, he said to the empty room. 5 years, and we answer the call. Ready or not, we're coming. I think, he said slowly, they will answer our invitation. But not the way we expected. Not the way anyone ever has before. He sent his report to the council with a warning attached. Humanity was coming. And when they arrived, the galaxy would never be the same again. On Earth, Admiral Morrison looked at the same stars Vecthar watched from space. Somewhere out there, aliens waited for humanity's answer. They had been waiting for 300 years. Soon, Morrison said to the empty room. Soon we'll answer. But we'll answer on our terms, not yours. He thought about the message humanity would send when they finally broke their silence. It would not be words of peace and friendship. It would be the sight of Earth's fleet, armed and ready, showing the galaxy that humanity learned the most important lesson. Never show up to a meeting unless you're ready for it to go bad.